Outdoor Marines, YOLO Tech, Spear Point Hooks, Proline Baits, Go Burns Rods, and Cornfield Fishing Gear. Guys, man, go check out all those stuff. They help us out to be able to get out on the water and do what we do. But let's get to it. And let's have fun with this podcast because we've got one killer episode that I've been waiting for since the time that I started talking to Traveler about coming here. But guys, if you don't know, I am Colin Burnett.
Pappy J.
And right here we have got our good buddy, the Traveling Fisherman. What's up, brother?
What's up?
What's up? Welcome. How are we doing, everybody?
Doing good.
Man.
I think you're doing better than us, so according to the backdrop you got right there.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
No, not too bad at all.
So, guys, if you look in the background, he's definitely not in Tennessee Smoky Mountains. So he is up in Alaska, and we're going to have Traveler tell us about up in Alaska and fishing up there. So brother, can you tell us, like, you are the traveling fisherman. You go around and you travel. Can you explain to people that may not follow you on social media, like, why do you travel around to all these different areas?
Well, first off, guys, my wife is a travel nurse, so, we go to different states. She works at different hospital systems, and I was working, a 9-to-5 job prior to us getting on the road. We hopped on the road, and I really needed something to do. I've grown up fishing pretty much my whole life, and, having this opportunity to, go to different states and fish for different species, that's kind of really how it started. And then, how it manifested to where it is today, really taking the advantage and the opportunities, to really dive into when we get to these states. It's not, just coming for a weekend. I actually get to live in these beautiful states anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And I really get to learn about all the different species and different techniques and different bodies of water. So, but that's the reason that we travel around every few months, because my wife's a travel nurse.
Heck yeah. And the thing is like, old Pappy and I were talking. We're like, that would have been the life, to be able to just go around and travel, because we assume that you're learning so much, being able, because I imagine you're able to take some of the stuff that you're fishing for up there in Alaska to, like, even when you've been in Ohio, Louisiana, some of the stuff, the techniques and stuff that you're using, and down in Florida, that you're able to kind of use them everywhere.
Yep. Sometimes we can, and one of the unique things, that's the thing about Alaska, it's nothing like I've done anywhere else. Like when we're drone fishing on the beach, it's similar. It's similar to river fishing, or you're putting cut bait and you're casting out there and letting it sit. So that's pretty similar. I really don't do a ton of fly fishing as it is, unless we're up here in Alaska. But there's certain aspects that we can translate to other areas and other states. The one thing that we can do is like the ultralight fishing with like the small, like the Meps or the blue foxes, something like that in some of these streams. But it's really kind of Alaska's its own unique system, if you will.
Right. So I know, because like we're in Chattanooga and we've got the Tennessee River running right through our back door, and the fish here are very current driven. So are the fish up in Alaska, are they current driven as well?
So, like, if you're like in the Russian River, for sure, parts of the Kenai Lake and Kenai River, are like that. When you see me fishing out here in the bay, it's not as much current driven. With this, it's just they'll run shallow along the rocks. There's another content creator fishing out there today. I was talking to him earlier. We get the sea lions coming in. They push the big schools of salmon in, and you can see them. So we're just grabbing them that way. But yeah, a lot of the places that we're fishing are a lot of the rivers and streams. It's all current driven. Wow. Most of the stuff.
And I couldn't imagine, because I was watching your live the other day, and And you was just talking, and then you're like, "Hold on, guys, I got there." That you said that you could see them, and it's interesting to see. And I imagine that's what it was that you was talking about with the sea lions is pushing them in, and so that is very interesting.
And there's a spot way over here where I'm pointing in the bay where they run up. They'll run, they'll come in from the bay and they run up the stream, and we're sight fishing for them because the water's so clear you can see them. So, we're fishing at that point. You're fishing in 2 to 3 feet of water. You see them as they're coming up, and again, you cast to them and you try to grab them.
Right? Is it clear because of like it being the glacier water?
That's part of it. Yeah, a lot of these are glacier fed.
That is
So what's the average temp of the water there during the summertime? Well, right now.
I think the other day it might have been in the 50s, something like that. I overheard some guys saying, there's people out here swimming in this stuff. So.
Wow.
Yeah, just a couple days ago we were out here.
Well, I know I'm sitting here looking at snow on top of the mountain there, and you're talking about people swimming in the water there. That's just like wow.
And I don't know what this elevation is here. I think Mount Marathon is over here. It's they do a race every year, and they're going to do that on the 4th of July. The one year we were up here, like who was here? What's his name? Zuckerberg. He was up here. Like all that crew was up here for this race. It's a lottery system. People come from all over the world to try to compete in this race, and I think the elevation it's over 3,000.
Yeah,
I know that. And I think the record was set in like 41 minutes up and down. Yeah.
I'd have no problem coming in because I just roll.
Yeah, you got 41 right? 41 hours for me. I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, just for us to get to the bowl, we hiked the first year up here. And it's funny if the wife is watching, she's laughing because I always talk about the bear story. Our very first year up here, we drove up and we got some bear spray and we wanted to take the hike up to the bowl. And it took us a couple hours to get up there and packed a little backpack. We had some sandwiches and beef jerky and all that good stuff. And we're up there taking pictures and hanging out. So we had to, make our way back down. And we're walking back down. We're getting back to the switchbacks. And I had to stop and take a break. And she wanted to keep going. And she went around the corner and she came back and there was a black bear sitting in the path. So we got stuck on the mountain. We had to call the rangers. They had to come up and rescue us off the mountains. But yeah.
So I can imagine just the wildlife. I mean, because I've never been to Alaska. I don't know if Pappy's been. I know it's one of the bucket list places that I do want to go. So what kind of wildlife do you have? I mean, because I imagine, it's practically in your backyard.
Oh yeah, it is. We've come out on the back deck before. We've had moose. After a rain, they'll come out and they'll be drinking water off the top of the SUV. We've had that happen. We've had brown bear come right up our driveway. Eagles landing right in the backyard. So there's been some mountain goats that have been, that'll come down. Porcupines, but the juvenile eagles and the eagles they're everywhere.
Yeah, which we see a lot of eagles here in the Chattanooga area until the ospreys come in. The ospreys will run them out.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting because to me, because these eagles are twice the size of these ospreys.
Oh yeah, the ospreys. I don't know what it is, but once the ospreys make nests and then they start laying eggs and stuff, and the hatch, you will not see any eagles after that.
Okay.
So
yeah, we've had bear come out at us when we've been fishing before, and thankfully everything's been fine because they're not there for us; they're there for the fish, and. But it was I think our second or third year up here. I was out fishing, the Russian River. We were trout fishing, really end of the spawn for the salmon, for the reds, and big brown bear just came walking right at us. Dave, my buddy turned to the right. It was standing right next to him, and he cut his line, and we walked across, and it came over, and just like you see on TV, we swam around, came up to the big head shake, grabbed a fish, ate it, and took off.
There you go. Wow. I'll tell you one thing though, traveling, I need Pappy to go with me when I go up to Alaska because if we see a bear, all I got to do is just outrun him. So that's all I got to do.
That ain't gonna happen.
Okay. Well, Pappy, no. You'll be safe. You'll be safe. If he wants to outrun you, you'll be safe.
Oh, really?
Never want to run from a bear.
Well, oh, there you go.
Well,
Well,
I'm
that's what I
tricky,
thought.
man.
That's
I'm
what I was
pushing
taught. They told you
it.
never run from a bear. Just always try to be bigger than the bear, louder than the bear. You know, clap and make a noise.
I can definitely be loud.
We're screwed about bigger.
Yeah.
We're getting on each other's shoulders to do that.
Yeah.
So, um, so you moved to Alaska from Florida, and what is it down there in Florida that what fish do you enjoy catching down in Florida?
I mean, everything so far. Obviously the bass. The bass are a completely different beast. Than anywhere that I've fished, and I'm sure there's a lot of other great fisheries for bass. Texas, Oklahoma, California.
Yeah.
Vermont. I mean, I fished in Vermont, not more for smallmouth, but it just what really intrigued me the most and gets me excited with Florida is you never know what you're going to go fishing for. You can go freshwater fishing, saltwater fishing, brackish, peacock bass, tarpon.
Yeah.
The species are endless. The varieties are endless.
Yeah, and I told Pappy that if he goes fishing down in Florida, that he has to go do some peacock fishing. There's nothing like having peacocks hit a top water bait.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been one of my bucket list is go peacock fishing. But talking about fishing, so what is the I guess what would you relate? What kind of fish would you relate in Alaska to here as like would be the bass or the smallmouth?
Probably salmon and trout. That's kind of a big thing. But there's a variety of species here as well. You got rock bass, you got lingcod, you got yellow eye, you got halibut, flounder, skate, Irish lure. Like we were out fishing the other day, and we caught all a variety of fish. I finally caught an Irish lure. It's a garbage fish, right? That's what they say, but really unique looking. Hold on, we got a truck coming by. But really, really unique looking fish. So I caught one of those. The biggest skate that was caught, 70-pound. So many different fish out here.
Man, and like, what has been the biggest salmon that you've caught?
If maybe had a guess, maybe 15 to 20 pound range.
Oh wow,
Man,
wow.
And to me, like, because like all the videos and stuff that you see about the salmon, and just see like hundreds of them just going upstream. That is just crazy. You can tell that they're big.
Yeah.
But just to think 15, 20 pounds, that is just crazy. So,
that's on the high end. The guys are catching king salmon out here, which I'm still trying to get. 15, 20, 25 pounds.
Yeah. So you earlier you had mentioned drone fishing. Can you elaborate a little bit about the drone fishing, how that works, and all the whole setup and everything?
Yeah, we're just using large setups like 12-foot rods. Anywhere from a 6,000 to 8,000 reel. 300 yards a line. The drone just comes and you put a little loop in your line that goes through like this rod on the drone. Drone goes up, takes you way out, and you just, the one guy's flying you out, and you're watching your spool, and you tell him to stop, he'll drop you in. You got to wait a little bit, let that weight get down. I think we're using 8 ounces or 10 ounces, something like that. 2 hooks on top of each other with a cut bait. We're using herring and squid. You let that fall, and you let it sit, and hold on once you get a bite.
That is crazy. Now, and that's just, to me, it's crazy to hear. But, and which I asked you last time I was on on your live, like because it didn't look like that. It was like it. The waves are coming in, and I asked, I said, "Is that freshwater or saltwater?" And it's crazy to think though, and squid makes sense, but just to hear squid, and so, but because do you use squid like anywhere else that you've been?
We've done that in Florida.
Yeah. So did so is the flounder that is there? Is it the same as like the flounder that you'll see down in Florida and stuff? That you'll see them like the guys gigging on the sandbars.
It looks pretty similar. It looks very similar.
That is interesting.
So we caught some smaller ones, but again, the skates, there were 3 skates caught that day, and the biggest one had been 70 plus pounds. They let that one go, kept the smaller one. We filleted that up, and people were trying it. And skate is very similar to scallops in taste and texture.
I like some scallops. Fry them things up. Or not fry them, but grill them up. Man.
Yep.
So, can you talk a little bit like your social media and stuff that you do? Because you do a lot of fishing, but you also, and one of my favorite things that you do is like when you're sitting in your little office and stuff, and you're just talking fishing, talking baits and stuff like that, and you'll have your bait wall behind you and stuff. So can you talk a little bit to where, again, if people have not seen you on any of the social media, kind of talk about your social media and stuff that you do, to where people can have an idea. And with that, brother,
You were breaking up. Say it again.
oh, can you talk about like your social media, like what you do on your social media for people that may not know or may not have seen you before? Can you talk about, because you just don't fish? Like what I was saying earlier was like my favorite thing. One of my favorite things that you do is when you're in your office and stuff, and you're talking baits and just talking fishing, just like kind of like what we're doing now.
Right.
Is one of my favorite things that you do.
Yeah, so, the reason we do the office stuff is because I know how intimidating fishing can be, and, trying to understand there's so many different lures and techniques, and, hard to pair things up. And, I like to, and again, I'm not a professional, I'm not an expert. I just, a lot of time on the water, having that passion, desire, and, knowledge of years of fishing, to be able to break things down, a little bit easier, and make things a little bit less complicated and less intimidating for some that maybe are just brand new to fishing, or maybe that type of fishing with those lures or those techniques. It's something that I like to, bring out to everybody. And, fishing is a huge aspect of what we do. And, going into this year, we're starting a couple different series, and I really want to expand on, what we're doing, because we get to fish all year long and travel the country. And again, I've learned so much. I mean, the amount of knowledge I've picked up since we've got on the road in 2015, it's sometimes I can't even believe it, and fathom it. Yeah. But I want to just be able to share that, share the experiences and the knowledge and the things that I've picked up to maybe help you gain that same confidence.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that like I've really enjoyed, which I mean, you've got your sponsors and stuff, just like how we got sponsors and stuff that help us out. And I can remember one of the first like office talks, I guess you can say, that you was having that I watched. There was a guy that they were talking about baits and like which bait should I get, or which and you was talking about like there's so many baits out there, and a lot of the baits and stuff that's out there is really not for like the fish like attracting fish. It's more or less attracting the eye of the fisherman to be able to get you to. And that was one thing that I really did not think much about it. I mean, I totally agree with it because if I have 5 frogs and one of them's a black frog, the other one's a green frog, but and then I have, let's say, a green on top and a white on the bottom and a yellow on top and a white on the bottom and just a white frog. I tell people, well, you just have 3 frogs because a fish can only see the bottom of that. They don't know what the top of that frog looks like. So,
But you do.
right. So to me, that's all. And that kind of hit home when I heard you say that. I was like, that's kind of my theory on the frog. That's how, like, I tell people, like, they're like, man, I got a box full of frogs. Well, 90% of them's got a white bottom. You just have 90% of your frogs are just a white frog.
Yep.
And so, but when you said that, like, they make all these baits and stuff appeasing to the fisherman's eye to be able to where that fisherman's like, oh, I got to have that one, to where and I think what you had said is like, you can go out there just with a plain old Cinco. I think that's what the bait that you had talked. And just like, you can go out there and just pitch around green pumpkin,
Green
Cinco.
pumpkin's all you need. That's all you need.
Yeah. And so, and just like what you were saying, the information and stuff that you give is very relatable for just like the average fisherman, somebody that's trying to get into. You break it down very well for people, to understand, because if you get a pro on, they're talking and their lingo and stuff, which is normal lingo for them, and that we may understand, but the beginner fishermen, they're going to be like, well, what's a drop shot, or what's this, or what's that?
What's this loop? Yep.
Right. And so, and that's one thing that why I really wanted to have you on, is because I really enjoyed your content, and I really enjoyed because
thank you.
You make things very easy, and like when you're out fishing, you're talking about your mindset of what you're thinking, because a lot of people, they can do things, but they can't talk about what they're doing. I've had many people that's been out on the boat that they've caught a fish, and then I'm like, 5 minutes later, I was like, all right, so what did you do? Because I make a point to ask, what did you do when you got that hit? And they cannot tell you what they've done. It's so important to know exactly what you're trying to get that bait to do, to where if you know what that's doing, you can easily keep repeating that.
Build on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, so guys, with that being said, I do want you to go to his links, and I do have them, and I'm gonna keep on, I guess, pestering y'all about that. Go make sure you hit those links and start following, because again, Traveler here, man, he does give some information, and with all the traveling that he's done, it is very informative, because then he can, if he's down in Florida and you're in Ohio and talking about fishing, he understands Ohio because he's been to Ohio. He's fished all over the United States. He understands. And so that makes it very, you as a very useful person to be able to ask questions to.
And kind of go back on what y'all was talking about, one thing I always used to try to tell new fishermen or even kids, I got this little phrase that I kind of picked up from the military, but it's KISS. Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
It don't got to be overwhelming.
Right.
You can pick up a worm and Texas rig a worm and catch fish all day long in any fishery.
Yeah.
Any fishery. I mean, that's proven. The Texas rig, is one of the better fishing techniques that you can catch a fish, and that's something that I've always kind of tried to tell, especially my own kids. I just pick up a rod, I Texas rig it for them, and going back to green pumpkin or a June bug color or whatever, and just you can catch fish. I mean,
Yep.
it's a magnet.
Yeah.
It's a magnet.
So we do have a question said from John Pate says, "What is your favorite fish to catch and eat while you're staying there? And what wild game do you prefer, like deer, moose? Is it better to be there than in Florida?" And he said that's a simple question.
So,
So
favorite fish to eat up here by hands down is halibut. It's my favorite fish that we've had. And we've had halibut, in other areas, but when you catch it, especially up here, best fish for sure. I really enjoy fishing for trout. We're going to get into fly fishing, over the course of the next, I think we're here for a little over 2.5 months. We're going to do a lot of fly fishing. Big game, if it presents itself, we'll try it. We've had moose up here. The most unique thing that we've had up here has been seal. I think it was our first or second year. A couple of the natives came down from Tooksuk Bay. They had a seal. They brought it down. They prepared it a couple different ways and got to try that, and that was pretty unique.
yeah,
Now, is the fish up there compared to down here in the lower 48? Is it? I guess would it be more fishy tasting, or is it just fresh?
I mean, fresh. Like I said, when we did our first, because we've done two drones. We've been drone fishing twice up here, catch and cook both times. We did the cod. Caught it, filleted it, cooked it. I mean, so fresh, no fishy taste at all. The like the silvers and the Chinook salmon, I think, are a little fishy, a little more oily. The reds, the sockeye what we're eating now is pretty good, but it's all how you prepare it, I think, too.
Right, right.
But the meat's all different color, than the stuff that we see in the store, right? Because a lot of that's farm raised, or whether it's like that orange or peachy color. Here it's deep reds and it's oranges, like deep colors, because it's fresh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
so
We got a question here. Okay.
Yeah.
I hadn't.
It says, in your extensive travels, do you see much of an opportunity to use bigger saltwater lures for freshwater black bass by Stephen Sturgeon?
No, no. 'Cause I haven't really caught black bass too much. You probably could use some of the bigger saltwater lures, in the bay here. I'm sure. Like I said,
Yeah.
I've never used a lure out here in the bay. It's either been cut bait or it's been like the weighted treble hooks.
Yeah.
So that's all it is just a weighted treble hook. You just chunk it and
Chuck and wind. Like I said, it's not pretty. A lot of people don't. We've had a lot of people will come into the lives even recently after explaining it to them. The technique and how it's a legal way to harvest fish. It's been decades. People get it, and some people don't. But we're not fishing for fun. This is for sustenance, sustainability. People come down. People come from all over Alaska to be able to do this because you can only do it in Seward, Alaska, and Homer from all everything that I've learned and people talk about. So people come in from all over and they rely on these big runs, to get them through. People say they can feed their family a year. They'll smoke them. They'll how they prepare them. So it's again, we're not doing it for fun. We're having fun while we're doing it. But it's a different a different
Now,
technique.
is it mimicking something, or is it just
No.
you're just chunking and reeling?
Because at this point, like I said, these fish they're not chasing anything. You're not gonna catch them off a lure. The only way that you're gonna get them is you're gonna dip net them, or you're gonna
treble.
You're gonna snag them.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, because and up there, like and correct me if I'm wrong, Traveler, like, because their whole mindset that's up there, like how we'll catch bass and we catch and release, like everything that they go straight to the table in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
So, and do they have like a limit, like you can only catch so many?
Yep. So it will depend on the run, and that run can change. But right now with the sockeye, it's 6 per person per day. And then
And
if
that's a
you're out
lot.
on
I mean,
if you're out on the charter boats, it'll be different. I think based on what you're catching. I'm not familiar with everything, but I know there are limits when you go out for like ling cod, yellow eye, the halibut, all that stuff. There are limits to that as well.
so what kind of line are you using for that?
For when we're snagging,
Yeah.
I got 30 pound or 40 pound braid to 40 pound braid to a 30 pound mono. Some guys are using 50 pound mono. It just depends. It's some guys are casting way out. I mean, more times than not, these schools are coming in real shallow. You can get them 3 to 5 feet from shore. You're just kind of pitching in, and.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Well, and like I've seen the weighted treble hook. I've never seen it used up there. But where I've seen the weighted treble hook is I've got a good friend of mine, Shaw Grisby. He does a lot of gator hunting, and he'll use the weighted treble hook to be able to get a gator.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so it's interesting.
And then
So,
the
what
other,
is with all your traveling and stuff and fishing all over the United States? Where has been your favorite place to fish?
I would say besides Florida, here,
Yeah.
definitely here.
So,
Just because it's so unique. I mean,
yeah.
we're fly fishing, we're drone fishing. You can ultralight fish. It's pretty special. But everywhere that I fish, with the exception of a few, has offered something unique, has brought something unique to the table.
Oh, buddy, my dog's going crazy. But yeah, because I mean, up there is, I mean, looks like it's just like an outdoorsman paradise.
Yes. Even the one day that we were out drone fishing, it was windy, the rain kind of came in, but you can't let the weather. And I've talked about this a lot, even just with fishing. I always let everybody know you cannot let the weather dictate whether we get outside and fish or not. I mean, obviously we need to keep it safe if it's thunderstorms, all that stuff,
Yeah.
but especially up here, you can't let a little wind and a little rain stop you. Because but there's always something going on out here in the bay. Whether it's helicopter rides, the Kenai Fjord tours where they take you out looking at the glaciers, or whale watching, or people fishing or hiking. It's very rarely are we inside.
Yeah. So, and we were talking before we went live, and you were talking about that there's some orcas that come in right behind you as well, right?
Now, yeah. So here we've had like I think they're the gray rails or the humpbacks that have come in. We've seen those a lot. I haven't. The orcas are in, but we haven't had any reports yet that they've come in this far. But they have in the past. Because they're chasing again. They're chasing the sea lions that are swimming around. Who knows what else they're chasing.
Yeah.
Right. So there's to me, like just looking at the terrain and stuff, it almost remind me almost like a highland reservoir. Because I imagine that is fairly deep water right there, correct?
Some of it is like that, and that's the thing. Like, especially now being down, coming up here for so long, a lot of this stuff. I don't know about here, but a lot of this stuff you can walk out far. It's only maybe hip deep, 4 or 5 feet deep at points, but it's a lot shallower when the tide goes out versus when the tide comes in.
Well, I didn't even think nothing about it being tidal water affected. Yeah, that's
Let me see
crazy.
the point. Well, because it's opposite. But like I said, this is Resurrection Bay, and this leads out to the Bering Sea. Like if you guys watch Deadliest Catch, that's where
That is awesome. Now I don't know. Have you gotten any lobsters yet or crab since you've been up there?
Not yet.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, we've eaten them, right? We haven't caught them yet, but that's the thing. When we first came up here the first year, it was like, wow, we're gonna come up here and have all this great crab, fresh crab. Well, they catch it up here, but they send it down to like Seattle and that area to process it and come up. There's a couple small spots up here, but I'm hoping to get out and do some crabbing while we're here, though.
heck yeah. So, what is one thing with all the traveling that you've done that would be the biggest thing that you would tell a beginner angler?
Just do your homework. That's a big thing too. Is always research. That's the beauty of social media. That we have all this information at our fingertips. And I always talk about that. Part of me, being the old school guy, said it's kind of bittersweet. I go because we didn't have these tools at our disposal. We were out there on the front lines. Trial and error. But again, it's bittersweet. So you can go online and you can search something and say, hey, I'm going to go here and how do you fish for salmon in Alaska? And you're going to have endless videos on it. But the big thing is just go out. Don't get discouraged. Okay, that's the thing. Don't get discouraged. We're going to have good days and bad days, but that's the thing about doing this is it being exciting and fun. And whatever level that you're at, whether you're a novice or even professional, like when you go somewhere new, what are we relying on? The things that we've learned over the years. And again, we can come on, we can search something and get all that information and just really try to, test ourselves. But it's that excitement, something new and seeing what we can do with what we have, with the knowledge that we have.
And that's one thing that we have asked that similar question to other guys that's come on the podcast. And they've all kind of said the same thing that you just said.
Yeah.
Research, just research, do your homework, and it'll take you so much further.
Well, even like on like how we're having thunderstorms and high winds and all that right now during like this time when it's really not that enjoyable to get out on the water is the perfect time to be looking at a map and just seeing let's try this area out.
Yeah.
Let's see what else can I find out with the body of water that is as close to me as possible.
Talk to the locals, going to the mom and pop tackle shops, hang out. Those are the places I like to go.
Yeah.
Those are the places
that's where you get a lot of information.
That's the old school stuff.
You don't even have to ask anything. Just listen.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Just listen.
Yep.
And so, we have a question that says, the family and I are going to Florida in the middle of August. What type of fishing would you suggest in August to do?
I mean, do you want to go saltwater fishing or freshwater? And then where in Florida are you going to go? Are you going to be more landlocked or are you going to be more coastal? So that'll depend too.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because and if you're like down south, like Tampa and Miami area, you can go do some peacock fishing, go fish the Everglades, and if you're more central, I mean, I would
go Okeechobee, Kissimmee.
Oh, yeah, and go to Lake Placid, Estapoga,
Headwaters.
And, and then I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and I mean, you can go and do the St. Johns River that's up north towards Jacksonville.
That's a place of mine. Because what the backstory behind that is because we all have these guys that we grew up watching. We all drew inspiration from, and for me, it's Rick Clunn. The wealth of knowledge that man has, and then at the high level he was fishing at, even at the end, and then being that he won him back to back up to St. John. I want to get up there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That is, and it is a tidal fishery as well. And so
Yep.
that's one thing that I think it would. I've never fished a tidal fishery. That well, I take that back. I fished in the Everglades and the canals. It will fluctuate in the canals.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so what is I know like down in Florida, I mean, the saying is if the water's wet, there's gators in it. So what is it like to be down in Florida and have gators that you got to keep an eye out for? Then now moving up to Alaska, now you got all these bears and stuff like that. That's I
Yep.
mean, I don't know which one I'd be more intimidated by.
It's just with anything. You got to be a situational awareness. Have a respect for the wildlife, and if you can learn, certain times of the year, you need to be more aware. Like, in Florida for the alligators when they're mating or nesting, you really got to be careful. I mean, other than that, you need to be aware of that, but less if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like they're not during the winter time. They're hibernating. You really don't see a lot of them. It's not until that springtime when they start coming out. But you always have to be aware of your surroundings. Same thing up here. Right now they're up. They're moving around. They're out of hibernation. Um, the ones that they get in town are they're the garbage bears. It's more about the big issue they have with them in town is whether it's people aren't securing their trash the right way, or the tourists come in and they're leaving food out and stuff. But you always have to be aware of your surroundings, and we have noisemakers and we have bear spray and we have different ways to be able to protect ourselves. But I'm not, it is intimidating. Even when we went out on the 11th, it was opening day at the Russian River, or in the Kenai. And we get out there at 8:30 at night, and it's still light out, but we're making long walks, and we're in the middle of it, and they're out there. So you always have to be aware. It's I don't know if you ever get 100% used to it, but to keep you on your toes.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah.
Another question says kayak fishing has really exploded in the past 4 or 5 years. Are there a lot of kayak fishermen in Alaska?
I've seen, yeah, just being out here, you see quite a few. Yep.
Yeah.
When I think it was our second year out here, we stayed at Shearwater Cove. We had to take a water taxi way out, and they drop you off on the other side. And there was just a couple yurts out there, and there was a caretaker out there, and it was myself, my wife, and I think like four other couples, or two other couples out there. And they were scuba diving, and I was telling her my story about what we do, and there were some kayaks out there. It just so happened that she had a fishing pole. I did some fishing, caught some copper rockfish, and that was pretty exciting. My first time ever kayak fishing out here.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So, now have you ever caught any like the bull reds?
Not yet.
That's one thing. That is a definitely a bucket fish for me to go and get on some of them. Like go into. Wish I got the bull reds down in Florida, but I hear like the best place to go is
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were living there, it slipped away. I'm not sure why or how it happened. I had talked to a few people. We were going to try to set up. Actually, the Broussards, weren't they from there?
No, they're from Central Florida.
Because I don't know if they were down there, but there was another Broussard. You know who Carl Voss is?
Mm-hmm.
He had set me up, and we were supposed to link up. But I know there's a lot of similar last names, but that rang a bell. But yeah, I was supposed to link up with them and fish, and I didn't. I passed it up, and I wish I would have, because that's another a bucket list fish for sure.
Yeah. Now, do you enjoy? Do you prefer to do freshwater over saltwater, or saltwater over freshwater?
Nope. Anything. Just do it. Yep. Because I mean, it changes everywhere we go. It changes.
Right. Right. And that's one thing that because you catch a lot of bass and stuff like that, but you also will go out there and try to catch different species as well while you're during your lives and stuff. So, Let's see. I had a couple more questions.
So, do you do any kind of hunting?
No, not really ever. You know, a handful of times maybe. Um, it was, I think, I don't know if it was the last time we were here. We flew up to a buddy I that lived up here. We flew up to Fairbanks, and he bought a truck, and we drove down Old Stewart Highway, and you know, we were moose hunting, but nothing ever came of it. But no,
Yeah.
not that I wouldn't. I just the opportunity isn't there.
Right.
This question says, have you ever fished in the Great Lakes and gone after big smallmouth?
Um, I fished. So where I fished for smallmouth was in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon, on the upper and lower Willamette rivers, and I fished for smallmouth in Illinois and Lake Champlain in Vermont, which was
Wow.
great. That was so much fun in Vermont.
Yeah. And because Champlain is very clear water, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not like it wasn't like gin clear, but it was pretty clear.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think like I would like to go. Not, I don't want to live up there, but I would love to be able to go and fish the St. Lawrence River, and
Yeah.
especially and to be able to look 30, 40 feet deep and be able to see it looks like just boulders down in the water.
Yeah.
It's just huge smallmouth. I would love to be able.
Yeah, that'd be great for sure. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine the fight on that?
Right.
No. Having to pull up that
pulling them up at
that
that
deep.
depth.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, good grief.
So, let's see. This one says, have you ever caught any peacocks in the Everglades?
Yes. Many times. I mean, not many. I mean, 3 times I think. You know, but still, that's a lot. Even if you get to do it once. Definitely. Yeah. Just that was special. Just the backdrop. Being there is special. But you never know what you're catching down there. We were catching Mayans and cichlids, and what did I catch? Like a bowfin, I think they call them, something like that.
Yeah.
A mudfish, or I'm not quite sure, something like that. But nope, not snakehead. That because those I don't know if they're in the Everglades, at least where we were. Those we were down in Miami. I missed a couple down there, but yeah, peacock bass fishing down there is special.
Now, can you explain just for people for us ones that's never caught a peacock, the difference in a peacock, a smallmouth, and a largemouth, just the aggression. Now I know that peacocks are really aggressive, right? But can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that?
I would say it's like a hybrid. It's like combining a big largemouth and a big smallmouth. It's like a hybrid from that. I mean, one of the most aggressive fish I've ever caught. They just do not give up, and even the small ones.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'd rather if I want to go have like a fight, like catch a fish that's going to be giving me a fight and win for the money. I want to go catch by far a peacock, fresh water. There's no other fish. I don't think there's no other fish that fights like a peacock.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
And which people that's watched has probably heard me talk about it when I've said this before. Like you can go and throw a whopper plopper or a spook or something like that, just some kind of top water, and it sounds like somebody's taking a cinder block and just throwing it down on the water when because like in a bass you hear the splash, but a peacock it is so vicious. Wham! And I mean it is crazy. So,
like I said, even the small ones, put up a big fight. Like I said, that's something that's on the bucket list. We had looked into it. When my wife, she booked a trip for me for my 50th, we went to Turks and Caicos, and I got to knock that off the list. We got to go fly fishing for bonefish down there. But we looked into going down to South America, in the Amazon to do some peacock fishing down there. That's still on the list, so you never know.
Yeah. Well, I got a cousin that I guess it was 2 years ago went to Brazil to go catch a big peacock, and he was saying like they were using like 8-inch topwater baits, and that has wings. It has like wings on it, and it's kind of like how you was fishing for like when you was snagging, that they would just pop it real quick, just and he says, man, when them things just come up, and it's like, I mean, because 20-pound peacock, I couldn't imagine what a 20-pound peacock. The biggest that I caught was like 6.5 pounds, and that's a big peacock down in Florida. But to have a 20-pound peacock just destroyed, I couldn't imagine.
Because I think the state record peacock in Florida was only caught a couple years ago. And it fits like 10 pounds or right around there.
And that is, I mean, I couldn't imagine. And
mine's 5 pounds, and that fought like, a good fight.
Oh yeah.
So 20 pounds?
Nah. I mean, I would love it. But he, I don't know. He says he's going to go back down there. That was he really enjoyed it. And so he's like, that's one trip you have got to do. And so, another question says, if you could fish anywhere in the world, where would you want to fish?
Amazon for peacocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, and the thing, what is it? They have like it's a big old catfish looking. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Because Jeremy Wade fished for him.
Yeah.
Well, see, because one thing, like down there, like, and he was talking about like my cousin was saying like they would go, if you wanted to, like if it was a slow day for the topwater, like they would go and they would hand line bait, and like they just pretty much just throwing a hook out, and they'll have like these little baits that come up, and they're hand lining it. Okay. And he's like, we'll go and then go. I mean, there's like 5 of them that would go and they pull up to the bank, and they're just hand lining this bait in, and then they'll go. And he's like, man, we caught some monster fish, and he's like, I don't even know the names of this stuff. He says, I couldn't understand what they were saying. But he's like, he said them fish down there was just monsters.
I mean, there's so many different ones. I think the biggest one I've talked about the most, and it's still on my list, and, I'm surprised I haven't caught any yet living down there. But, my big thing is I like to catch a tarpon, and I would really like to try to catch one on a fly rod.
Yeah. Well, I got, next time you get down in that area, I've got a friend of mine that son does tarpon fishing. And so, and I was told that if I want to go tarpon fishing, that I just got to holler at him. So if you ever get down there, we'll holler at it.
That's home base for us, So we usually try to get down there end of December to end of April, something like that.
Yeah. So let's see. 3D printed lure says, "Hello, traveling man." So,
welcome in, my friend. Good to see you.
Oh shoot! What was that other question? Has there been a bait that you have been able to use all over the country?
Yeah, I mean, other than Alaska, well, I mean, you can use the little MEPs, right? The little spinners, the little foxes, silver foxes. That's pretty much, I would say, the one. If there's only one that I could say that I've used from Florida to Alaska, they'd be that one. But outside of Alaska, it's a Senko, spinnerbait, jackhammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you didn't say a jackhammer, because I know how much you throw a jackhammer.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that's I knew that was going to be in your retro report. Um, so, how long are y'all going to be in Alaska?
We're here probably, I think, like another 2.5 months.
Nice. And so then you'll start the process again of figuring out where y'all are going to go after that, right?
Usually within that last month, we it's pretty much set up. You know, unless something comes up, which we've been pretty lucky. We've been very lucky over the years, because on the back half of it, what happens, the nurses, they'll take a contract, everything's finalized, housing's all set up, and then it could be a week or a few weeks when it's about to start, the contract can be canceled and you got to start all over again. So, we've been very, very fortunate, lucky on that. So, but like I said, usually within that last month, we should know where we're going next.
That's good.
Heck yeah. Because I know you do a good job with building up the anticipation for your viewers. And because, like, especially this time when you was going to Alaska, I mean, I was like, all right, come on, brother. I just need to know where you're going. Come on, I need you to say Chattanooga. I need you to say something close to where we can get out on the water.
Right.
So, let's see. What would be your go-to fishing rod for freshwater fishing?
So, kind of a loaded question, just because I mean, what techniques are we throwing? Are we just talking kind of an all-around, do-it-all? Because I have a lot of those, and I do have a few technique-specific rods. But let's say we're talking a bait casting rod, 7.3 medium heavy, because that's a pretty well-rounded rod. For fishing from the bank, I haven't found myself really wanting to go any higher than a 7.3, just because of obviously the longer we get, the more power we have, the more casting distance that we have. But the thing that you give up is you got to be aware of your surroundings and what you're casting around. Oh, we got another truck coming by. So that's really good, based on where you're at, what you're fishing for. But I have found for myself, either a 7 foot, 7.3, but a medium heavy for most applications can get me through a lot of different things. Traveling throughout the country. Again, there's certain applications, certain rods that I have more technique specific, but a 7 foot, 7.3 medium heavy, pretty good.
Yeah, and that's and with a 7, I go towards either 7 foot, 7.3 myself, medium heavy for my all around bait casting rod, because you can throw so much. It is a very versatile rod that you can throw a lot of different baits and stuff on it with having to just go buy one rod.
I've ran into the issues where, different brands, some medium heavy, maybe a little more on the medium side, more on the heavy side, but, for the overall, it's a pretty well-rounded, versatile rod. I had got a Ducket Black Ice, medium heavy, and I got it for single hook applications, but it turned out to be a little bit on the stiff side, so I just turned that and I use that for my worming and like Stanko rod.
Yeah. Another question says, do you do a lot of finesse fishing in Alaska?
No, not really. I mean, no, I do have the ultralight set up with me. We're going to get that out there again for some of the smaller streams and tributaries, some of the micro stuff for some of the trout, maybe the Dolly Varden, the grayling, stuff like that. But for the most part, again, when we're in the bay here, we're either using cut bait or we're using, again, snagging, or when we're up in the streams and stuff, we're using the fly rods.
Right. So, guys, and if you just joined in and you heard him say the snagging, he has already had told us that snagging is a legal way to be able to catch fish, because they're catching the fish to take it home. They're not catching the fish to release the fish.
Yeah, that's their way of life.
Right.
Yep. So, this is a legal way to harvest fish for sustenance. People rely on these fish to get by, to feed their families all year long.
Yeah. Right. So, let's see. here's a question that's not really a fishing question. Well, it's not at all. But how long are the days? Or is it day 24 hour or daylight 24 hours?
So summertime, I mean, it's not like this, right? It'll get darker than this. You know, once you get into like the 2, 3 a.m. range, it's darker than this. But for the most part, this is what we're getting summertime. Wintertime, it's still like this, but 4 o'clock, you're really starting to get into that darkness. And then as you get farther up into the interior, you're getting darkness 30, I think 30 days, 60, 60 days. Some of the spots, you know. And they'll bring in the big lights for the town because again they'll have them on in the daytime normal hours and then nighttime they turn them off to try to get you into a routine.
Now, what would be your I guess as far as north or south Alaska, which would be your favorite?
I mean the farthest up that we've gone so far has been up to Denali, and we got to camp up there, but I'm glad you brought that up because that's another thing. We're gonna try to get up as far to the north as we can while we're up here.
Yeah.
But
another question. Another question for the traveler. Okay. It says, Traveler, when are you going to do another catch, clean, and cook?
It could be in the next few days. Tomorrow we're gonna go camping. Tomorrow we're gonna do a camp and cook. So, but the next catch and cook could be within a few days, and I'll make sure to do an announcement. I'll drop it on all my social media platforms, let you guys know.
Yeah. So, let's see. We've had you on for over an hour, so I know you've been outside probably for over an hour and a half.
I'm good, my friend. I'm feeling good.
So, let's see. Have you ever fished in California?
Not yet, no.
So, I would love to be able to get to Clear Lake or the Delta is where I would love to fish out there.
Yep, 2 spots on the list.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that would definitely be nice.
Yeah.
Even after like Mexico,
Yep.
I fished
in Mexico a few times. Quite a few times.
So, let's see what. So here's another question. It says, so would y'all be looking to come back to Florida after this trip?
No. Not. We will be back down there, but after we leave Alaska, we're not sure where we're going to go yet. But at some point, we will be back down in Florida.
Yeah.
We just don't know when.
So, I just want to say thanks, brother, for coming on, and because we've been talking about this, I guess, for the past 6-7 months on the lives and stuff. I'd holler at you, say, "Man, I need to get you on the podcast." And so,
I'm excited, brother. Yep, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I do want to give you the opportunity because I do know you got some sponsors and stuff of people that help you out and stuff. I want you to kind of shout out your sponsors if you don't mind.
Yep. So we got Evolve Fishing, guys. They got rod sleeves, they got reel covers. To me, the best in the industry, guys. Protecting your investments. That's what it's all about. Ever since I've been using those, believe me, things have been so much nicer on and off the water. They're made here in the USA, down in Texas, but just a great brand, guys. It's something I believe in. It's a product that I use. Anything that you guys see me use and I talk about, it's because it's products that I use myself and believe in. We got
those are snag proof, right?
What's that?
Those rod sleeves are snag proof, right?
They're as close as to snag proof as you're going to get. You can get them in there, but it's a lot easier getting them out. They do
Right.
float. So if anybody that fishes from a boat or a kayak, you ever lost, a setup over the side, they will float. I've tried them firsthand. Believe me, they work. I'm telling you. You should be protecting your investments when you're out there, you guys, on and off the water. So, Evolve Fishing, go check them out. J Bros Lures, small business bait maker, great family. The unique soft plastics, you guys, believe me, there's something out there for you. Go check them out. Huge shout out to Larry from J Bros Lures.
Yeah, and he's
We
got
got
some killer baits too.
Oh yeah. A lot of different stuff. From you could use his stuff for musky and northern saltwater fishing to freshwater fishing, finesse style. Unique colors, unique designs. Definitely, the price point is right on for sure.
Yeah.
We got Producto lures. If you like, well, and they're branching out on their colors, but another great soft plastic small business bait maker, unique colors, the grapes, the dark purples, really, really unique designs. They've been a huge help and a huge supporter of the traveling fisherman. We have Dollar Jerky Club. If you guys like beef jerky, small batches of beef jerky every month, you can check them out. It's one of our favorite road tripping snacks. Dollar Jerky Club. Who else? Jaw Tech. They're another great small business bait maker. Soft plastics out of Texas as well. Go check them out.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know, people think that that we do this and stuff, that it's just that we're just going out there, and they don't realize like how much this actually, for going out as much as that we're going out 4 or 5 times a week, that it gets costly. So to be able to have a bait company or something like that to be able to represent, and it's not saying that we get everything for free.
Right.
We get discounts and stuff. We do have some baits that we do get to, and especially we get to demo a lot of new baits and stuff. So that's a plus, but it helps out a lot. And so I wanted to be able, and I knew that you had a list of them, and I wanted you to, everybody that we have on, I want to be able to shout out. Because that's, you could not do it if it was not for
Right.
for the help. Even if it's just a little bit from each little company, every little bit
Absolutely.
counts.
It does. It helps out tremendously because we know how expensive it can be. And like I said, especially fishing at this level, going on a lot, we're going through a lot of products. So it's been a huge help for sure. I just want to give one more shout out. The newest one, and you're going to be hearing it first here, is Monster Bass Box. So that's the newest one.
Rick. I talked to Rick. We've had him on the podcast, and I need to holler back at him to get him back on here, because actually I haven't done it in a while, but I need to start doing it again. I'll get the Monster Bass boxes, and I'll get them in, and then we usually would do like a giveaway and stuff like that. And so I will give the monthly subscription box, get it away. And the thing is, guys, with that, is it is very, like, we live in Chattanooga area, and so they have it down to where, like, we're not going to get stuff that's going to be what somebody up north is going to need or something like that. We're going to get stuff that's going to be generally located for our area, and the baits that you get are going to be top quality baits. It's not just that they're just going out there just throwing a bunch of baits into a box or a bag.
Yep.
Good, and that's how I've learned. Like, that got me to where I wanted to learn different techniques, because I wouldn't go out and buy stuff like, let's just say, a certain kind of shaky head. Until I had it sent to me, and I'm like, well, I want to throw a shaky head. Let's throw this, or a drop shot weights. And so you try different hooks and stuff like that. And it is a great way to be able to build your arsenal up in the tackle box.
And pushing yourself, outside of your comfort zone, trying different things that maybe you necessarily wouldn't use. And then one thing I got to say about the Monster Bass boxes are if you find something that you like, you can get that product versus some of the other boxes that I used to get, back in the day where you find something unique and you couldn't find it in the store.
Yeah, that is true. And so I do like when they'll do the Z-Man or the Spro box deal. They call it like the Z-Man takeover, where that month is nothing but Z-Man or nothing but the Spro.
Strike King.
Yeah, Strike King. I mean, it is those boxes. They, the prices vary on how much you want to spend on it and stuff, but you definitely get your bang for the buck out of it.
Yes.
So, but I tell you one thing, brother. I can keep on going on and on. We talk fishing all day long, but I know I'm getting hungry. The fat boy is ready to eat. So, but Trevor, man, we have got to get you back on here, and what we'll do is maybe we'll do something to where, like, at each location that you move to, maybe we can kind of have you. Once you get settled in, we'll have you come back on and talk about fishing where you're at that point in time.
Sounds great. Absolutely. Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, I keep on getting memorized, or just looking behind you. I'm like, man, it's a beautiful backdrop, in which we had 3D printed lures say the background looks amazing, worthy for a green screen. So
absolutely.
That is, look at that. So, but
the only thing I've come close to is when I deployed, we had to fly over to Kyrgyzstan. I got to see the Himalayas, and that was pretty intense to see those mountains and stuff over there.
Hey, brother, I just want to say thank you for your service.
Absolutely, thank you.
So I will say this before we let you go: if old Pappy and I were driving in a truck and I'm driving and we happen to see a moose or he's driving, I will not say that moose will not get a little Debbie love tap. I'll just say that.
I'll be coming back on with the
moose. It's a backstrap.
I'll just say this, Traveler. We were in Kentucky last week, and there was, you know how in Kentucky there's all them horse farms and stuff like that. Well, we were coming up over this little rolling hill, and all you seen on the other little rolling hill was, you just seen that it was an animal. And he was like, that is a massive deer. He told me to run off the road, and it was a horse. And I was like,
speaking of that, I love being up here, but one of my favorite things about just traveling and being able to come up here, this was our second time that we got to drive up here. And let me tell you, as much as it's beautiful up here, I love it. My favorite drive is coming through Canada, coming through the Yukon Territory in British Columbia. We've seen wild horses on the side of the road, buffalo, reindeer, elk. It was the amount of different bear that we've seen was just unbelievable. It just reminded me that, like, that's the first time I've ever seen wild buffalo and wild horses in the middle of nowhere on the road.
So how long did it take y'all to drive there?
So we drove from Florida to Illinois in like a day and a half, and then 6 days from Illinois to Alaska.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And that was me stopping and fishing all the way through.
Right.
So, let's see. So, another quick question: do you like? Are you do you like any other sports besides fishing?
I mean, NASCAR, drag racing, stuff like that. I watch football, but it's pretty much fishing is at the top of the chart.
Because you have family that lives in Ohio, right?
Illinois.
Illinois. Okay. Well,
Yep.
I won't say that because I was going to say something about being a Buckeyes fan, but I don't want to cuss them like that. But I will if they're Cubs fans now. Now, if they're Cubs fans, we'll just go on, just tell them to get off the podcast.
I was going to say White Sox. South side.
So, well, guys, thank you again for watching. Traveler Man, thank you again. You are the man. Everybody, in the description down at the bottom, I have every single one of his links. Click on those links. Make sure you go start following. Hit the subscribe button. I know his YouTube channel. I don't know how many people's on right now,
Hey, Jim.
but I know that he's close to 800 subscribers on YouTube. Let's bump him up over. He needs to get over 1,000. So he needs to get the 1,000 to where he can start getting a little green in the pocket from it. So let's do that. Let's grow his social media. His TikToks, again, man, are phenomenal. The lives that he does, I guarantee you guys, you are going to love. And he's very detail oriented. He breaks it down to where it's easy to understand. You will love, and you can always, and it's just like how it is here, the interactive live. He will talk to you as he's fishing or as he's doing whatever in the office. And he's very approachable person to be able to talk to. So make sure you go and follow it. You're going to enjoy it. And brother, man, thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thank
you. We got to do this again. So we'll plan it as soon as you find out something where you're going to be. Let's get it scheduled.
Absolutely.
Get up there a couple of weeks and let you get settled in, and then let's get you back on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, within that last month, we should definitely know where we're going next. I'll definitely reach out to you. We can definitely talk before then, but guys, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate it. I enjoy what you guys do, and I really enjoy this podcast.
Thank you.
Man, thank you, brother. Guys, thank you y'all for staying in and watching and asking questions. And this is the reason why we do it. We'll be able to have the interaction with everybody, and then to be able to have special guests like Traveler to come on here
and to learn
and to learn.
Yeah.
And we want to see you out on the water, but before we let Traveler go, I have to get him to sing this song that he sings when he's out there fishing. That I think, if I'm correct, one of his viewers came up with this song. Do you know what I'm talking about, brother?
I'm not sure.
When you say
that's my song.
Oh, your song. Okay.
That's my song, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we got some traffic rolling by. Hold on. Because you know what, man? It gets everybody going, right? It gets everybody pumped up, and sometimes it works, right? We say, hey, if we're having a bad time out there, these fish ain't biting. We try to sing. We try to call them in. At one point, we've all sang the fishy song to try to get these fish coming in, right? But it goes something like this. Here, fishy, fishy. Oh, come on, fishy, fishy. Traveler needs a fishy, fishies. Don't want no skunk, fishy, fishies. Come on, fishy, right? You gotta call them in.
That's it, brother.
I love it.
Yeah, I almost forgot about it because I meant to have it to where I wanted us to start the podcast with that, but I forgot about it.
We can do it again.
Yeah. So, guys, again, I hope y'all have a blessed day, and go follow the traveling fisherman. And guys, we'll see you out on the water, and see you next week. Speaking of next week we are going to have Mike Iaconelli and Becky Iaconelli on the podcast next week. So make sure you tune into that, and we're going to see you here next week. See you guys.
Thank y'all.